What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This here's Legitical Response. I cover political news, and that's what we got today, folks. Johnson did it, man. Johnson just disappoints me at every single freaking turn. Check this out, y'all. Congress passes temporary bill to avoid shutdown as lawmakers punt spending decisions to December. So, he went ahead and went with the 3-month plan. Just kick the can down the road, continue with current levels of spending, which they call Pelosi levels of spending, because, yeah, they've been doing continuing resolutions for government funding ever since Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House. That's right. So since 2022, essentially. This is getting crazy, folks. There's a spending problem in Congress. There's a spending problem with our government. And these people can't seem to agree to cut spending. Right? They raised up spending for COVID, and they've been keeping spending at those levels ever since. That is just outright insanity to me. It just blows my mind. Blows my freaking mind. We're spending in a $1.7 trillion deficit. $1.7 trillion. That is way too much. These people, they're like a young teenager that you give a credit card to that has no limit. They just go and buy every freaking thing that they want, not realizing that you're going to damage something. Like these people, they keep issuing debt and devaluing our dollar by spending in a $1.7 trillion deficit. Anytime you spend in a deficit, they're printing money, folks, to pay for this. This is insane, and it must stop. Now, the only good news with this, when you think about it, okay, so if Trump gets elected in November, he puts his budget together as soon as he comes into office. Hopefully, there'll be some spending cuts. Hopefully there'll be some spending cuts. He'll have a little bit of say in the government spending. So we'll pray for that. We need some spending cuts, y'all. We need some major spending cuts. Congress on Wednesday passed a temporary measure that keeps government agencies funded into December, avoiding a shutdown for now while punting final spending decisions until after the November 5th election. The Senate approved the measure by a vote of 78 to 18 shortly after the House easily approved it. The bill generally funds agencies at current levels through December 20th, but an additional $231 million was included to bolster the Secret Service after the 2 assassination attempts against Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump. Money was also added to aid with presidential transition, among other things. So, you know, you love how they say that. Oh, the continuing resolution just keeps government spending the same. But it doesn't, does it? No, it increases spending by $231 million. Right? It's going to a good cause. But, like, does the Secret Service not get enough funding already? Like, seriously. Like, these people just take any single chance they can get to increase spending. Hey, let's devalue the dollar even more. Why not? People are struggling out there to buy anything and everything, from gas to eggs, from makeup to tampons, for crying out loud. They're struggling to buy everything. Wages aren't going up, despite what the Biden administration keeps trying to tell everybody. Like I have a regular job, right? I install commercial storefront, and Joe Biden is telling me that my wages have came up. No, they haven't, Joe Biden. No, they haven't. I got 33 cents last year. I haven't got any raise at all this year yet. It's almost the end of the year. And I think I got 33 cents the year before that. Yeah, that's not 30-something%, which is what the cost of damn near everything has come up in the past couple of years. That's nowhere near 30%. Nowhere near it. It's more like 2 or 3%, if that. If that. It's just crazy that they keep telling us wages have come up. The economy's doing great, y'all. But you got these viral videos all over the place of people yelling and screaming, crying because they can't afford groceries. They have to cut something out of their spending. They can't afford this bill this month. They can't afford to get new tires. Or they can't afford to go to the doctor or something because people are struggling. And the Biden administration, I don't know whoever is informing these people that, hey, the economy's doing good. It's like they just look at the stock market, look at the job numbers, and say the economy's fine. The economy is not fine. We had 9% inflation, which doesn't tell the story of why groceries are so high. Doesn't tell the complete story at all because 9% was year over year. You add all that up for month after month of this high inflation, and you get, in some cases, 200% and 300% increases in prices of certain things. Right? On average, it's like 30%. That is insane over a 2.5-3 year period. That's just insane. And they're trying to tell me and you that your wages have come up when they haven't, and that the economy's doing fine, y'all. Like, all these people that are supporting Kamala Harris are nuts, are outright nuts to support Kamala Harris. And she is insane. A dirty, dirty liar. I was about to say something else. She's a dirty liar saying, oh, we're going to create an opportunity economy. But doesn't say how. Never says how. She just rambles on some word salad, garbage, and doesn't speak about actual policy. On the other hand, you go listen to Donald Trump. You'll have to filter through some garbage. No lies there. You'll have to filter through a little bit of garbage, but at least he tells you what he's going to do. He's going to tariff this, he's going to do this, he's going to do this and this to make this happen. You don't get that from Kamala Harris at all. The bill now goes to President Joe Biden's desk to be signed into law. This bipartisanship is a good outcome for America, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said moments before the vote. I hope it sets the tone for more constructive bipartisan work when we return in the fall. Yeah, Chuck Schumer's a bastard, man. House Speaker Mike Johnson billed the measure as doing only what's absolutely necessary, a statement directed at members of his own conference concerned about spending levels. Huh? How do you know that? Right, like members of his own conference concerned about spending levels. Every single congressperson should be concerned about spending levels when spending levels are 1.7 trillion with a T in the red, in the deficit. And you mean to tell me, so that statement is saying that some aren't concerned about that? Folks, we need new congressmen immediately. You guys need to vote in your primaries to get some of these people out. It's just that this has got to stop. This is destroying the country. This type of garbage. Still, it was a no-go for some Republicans, which forced House GOP leadership to rely on Democratic votes to pass the bill through a process that requires at least 2/3 support from voting members. The final vote was 341 to 82, with Republicans supplying all the no votes in both chambers. Johnson said the only alternative to the continuing resolution at this stage would have been a government shutdown. So what? Shut it down. Once again, like I said, you don't go and send in a budget that is $1.7 trillion in a deficit and think that everybody's going to agree to that and just sign on to that. No, what you do, Johnson, is you send that budget back and you tell them, no, knock $1.7 trillion off of this budget and then we can talk. Otherwise, we're going to shut the government down because you people are insane. The fact that they're not doing this is insane to me. Like, if you have any arguments against this, why we should keep the government going when they are destroying themselves, Right? Like there's got to be some sort of intervention here. This makes no sense at all. And people are like, oh, well, we don't want the government to shut down because they think they'll get voted out. Like, all you have to do is tell the truth. Go back home to your constituents and tell them the truth. Look, the federal government had a budget that was $1.7 trillion over what we take in revenue, in taxes, in total revenue. And we don't have that money. We don't have the $1.7 trillion. And they wouldn't budge. They said no. We told them to revise their budget, but they didn't. But they could lie about that at least. Told them to revise their budget and they didn't do it. We had to shut the government down. We can't sign on to that. Like, seriously. Why do these people not think of this? If you tell your constituents, look, we just couldn't sign on to that, it's insane, they would totally understand, and they would probably vote for you for the rest of your life. They'd be like, you're doing the good work that Congress should do, keeping the federal government in check. Because it's destroying our country. I can't stress that enough. That's one part of the reason why I always say Biden is destroying the country. He brings in a budget that's $1.7 trillion into the red, and guess what, folks? The value of the dollar goes down, making it more expensive for you to go buy everyday goods. That's what it does. That's exactly what it does. They issue debt. Just issue debt. How can you do that? Just issue debt and then print some money. It's just insane. I know that's how our government works, but you know what? It shouldn't have to. Why can't they just be satisfied with what they take in taxes? It's crazy to me. It would be political malpractice to shut the government down, Johnson said. This is why I dislike Johnson. No, it wouldn't. I just explained all this out, so I'm not going to do it again. I think everyone understands that. No, they don't. As a matter of fact, Johnson. The House floor was largely empty during debate on the measure. Rep. Chip Roy, which is, by the way, if you don't know, my favorite congressman of Texas, was the lone critic among the speakers, saying, we end up in a vicious circle every year, the same vicious circle. I wish they would have gave more comments, because I know he said a whole hell of a lot more than that. Lawmakers in both chambers are anxious to return to their home states and districts to campaign, smoothing the path for passage of the temporary funding fix. But more arduous fiscal negotiations await them at the end of the year. Under terms of a previous deal to avoid a federal default and allow the government to continue paying its bills, spending for defense and non-defense programs would rise 1% next year. That is right. That is what these continuing resolutions do. They just, at the end of the year, you raise spending all the way across the board by 1%. That's nuts. That is nuts. Right? We're not taking more in taxes. How can you raise it by 1%? If the tax revenue isn't increased by 1%, that means we're spending even more in a deficit. Yeah, the deficit used to be $1.5 trillion. Now it's $1.7. It was upped by $200 billion. Like somebody said on one of those viral videos, that means you could give every single American $200 million. No, you couldn't. No, you couldn't. The Senate has been charting a course to go above that level, while House Republicans have been voting for steep cuts to many non-defense programs, and they have attached policy mandates to the spending bills that Democrats overwhelmingly oppose. Yeah, but you're not telling me what these policy mandates are. I would love to know what those are. So a final agreement will be difficult to reach. Yes, like how can they advocate for not spending, for no spending cuts? Like they want to advocate for increased spending. Huh? When we're already $1.7 trillion in the red? Once again, folks, Democrat politicians are insane. I say it all the time, and I mean it every time I say it. They absolutely are just nuts for this. In the meantime, the temporary bill will mostly fund the government at current levels, with a few exceptions like the funding infusion for the Secret Service. The $231 million for the Secret Service does come with strings attached. It's contingent upon the agency complying with congressional oversight. The bill also allows the Secret Service to spend its allocations faster if needed. Everybody understands that's critically important right now, Johnson said of the Secret Service money. It's really not. They should be able to do their job regardless. Trump thanked lawmakers for the extra Secret Service funding at a campaign event Wednesday. He had earlier called on Republicans not to move forward on a spending bill without also including a requirement that the people provide proof of citizenship when registering to vote. That legislation failed in the House last week, and that's insane to me, right? The SAVE Act was passed in the House on strictly partisan lines. That's insane. That means that Democrats need to explain why they want criminal aliens voting in federal elections. Oh, but they don't do it because it's illegal. That's what they'll tell you. That's a garbage answer. That's the most garbage of garbage answers you could give. Why? That logic makes zero sense. You know, around here we're all about logic, right? You know, somewhere in their brain, I don't know how they can get away with this without more questions being asked. Like, seriously. Like, they say it doesn't happen because it's illegal for them to do so. Well, guess what? Those people, it's illegal for those people to be here in the first place. Like seriously. Like, how do you reconcile that, Democrats? How do you reconcile that? They're telling you that they're not going to vote in federal elections because it's illegal, while at the same time knowing that these people crossed our border illegally. It makes no sense. Frustrates me to no end. In a recent letter, the Secret Service told lawmakers that a funding shortfall was not the reason for lapses in Trump's security when a gunman climbed onto an unsecured roof on July 13th at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, and opened fire. But acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rhodes Jr. also made clear the agency had immediate needs and that he's talking to Congress. The Secret Service has asked for this additional funding. It's absolutely essential as they deal with the increased threat environment, said Senator Susan Collins, the top Republican on the Senate Appropriations Committee. The continuing resolution is needed because Congress is nowhere close to completing work on the dozen annual appropriations bills that fund much of the federal government. The House has passed 5 of the 12 bills, mostly along party lines. The Senate has passed 0. You know what? They don't work on these. I've been on YouTube for about a year now, and I've been covering these for about a year now, and they've never passed any. Like, the House surprised me when they passed 5 appropriations bills. You know, they're supposed to do that every year. Every single year, they're supposed to have all 12 appropriations bills for Congress, for the House and the Senate, right? But they never do. They just pass it all in a continuing resolution. You get this government shutdown looming over their heads, and they all get into a frenzy and like, oh, well, we have to pass a continuing resolution because blah, because we didn't do our job all year long. Yeah, that's what they do. That's what they tell you. But they don't do it intentionally. They've had a year to do these, an entire year, to go through the appropriations, to go over their budgets, make the, you know, whatever the hell they got to do to them. I don't know. I'm not in Congress. They just look over all their budgets, write it up in the bills, and approve it in Congress. That's all they have to do, and they don't do it at all, ever. Right? What job do you know where somebody can go to work, not do their job at all, and still get to keep their job? Right? These people, there needs to be a law passed. I know it would be in Congress, and that would be tough to do. A law passed that says that if they don't do their work, they're not eligible to be voted back into office. They're ineligible for an election. Ever. If you don't do your job. Like, seriously, like, we need to do something about Congress, y'all. Congress is a mess. It is the most powerful institution on the planet. As a matter of fact. The most powerful institution. They could control the federal government outright. They could. They most certainly could. The Speaker of the House could deny the funds to the military, to the federal government, the DOJ, anything and everything. They could just stop all payments to all federal employees. Just outright. Just completely shut down the military if they wanted to. Like, you think you got a military? Right, no. They could just shut off funding just immediately. Boom. It's done. But they don't do it. They don't wield that power. We have a border crisis. Well, the president says you need Congress to pass legislation to do anything. Well, that's not true. That's not true at all. As a matter of fact, Congress could compel the federal government to close off the border. But guess what? They don't do it. They do not do it. Congress has the power of the purse. They hold the purse strings. They hold all the money, folks. That's right. They could just stop funding. Just stop Joe Biden's paychecks. Just stop all White House staff paychecks. Everybody at the White House. Everybody at the Department of Homeland Security. Just halt. You're not getting a paycheck anymore. Not until you do your damn job. Shut that border down, or you're not getting a paycheck. They could absolutely do that, but they don't. You got a problem in your hometown? They could absolutely fix that problem. We got a train derailment over here. They could absolutely fix that problem. They could compel these companies to get their act together, whatever they need to do to stop having train derailments. I'm just saying. They could compel a lot more things than they do. And they compel, right now, incompetence is what they do. That's all they compel is incompetence. These people just continue to not do their job, spend in a deficit, and just talk to their constituents and say, oh, well, we averted a government shutdown. They take a victory lap for passing a continuing resolution that makes your buying power much less. You have less buying power. And these people will tell you that's an achievement, folks. We kept the government running. Who gives a damn? I don't. I absolutely don't. Shut the government down. That's what I say. Shut it down. If they can't get their budgets right, shut it down. Shut all of it down. I can promise you. You put the federal employees out of work. These people that write up these budgets, you withhold their paychecks. If they don't come up with a budget that just spends the exact we take in. Yeah. These people are insane. They're just outright insane. They'll take a victory lap for screwing you out of your money and screwing you out of your tax dollars. It's just crazy to me, and I'm not going to even finish that story because the rest of it's just blah, blah, blah. BS. That's all it is. I just wanted to talk about the government, y'all. But y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. Y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.